Hey, one and all, it's your pal Drew Tracy, and more comics from my squeaky old spinner rack. I'm going to get right down to it. If you like this, please hit like, subscribe, and hit the bell for notifications. Also, please leave comments below. Any comments at all. If you like my episode, if you don't like it, I don't delete a single comment. And share with a friend if they're into Bronze Age comics, which is mostly what I focus on. Some early Rob Liefeld, surprisingly. There's no hash marks, and it's actually not that bad. Okay, well, it's a great story here. This came out during the black and white boom. A guy named Gary Coulson was the publisher, and he had Megaton Comics. He ended up getting Eric Larson his first printed gig, where the Savage Dragon was fighting Vanguard, and I remember looking at that and I was like, that's so Kirby, it's so cool. And I didn't pick it up at first and then I regretted it. So as a thank you, Gary Coulson was given he got his own comic and some other stuff when Image came along, so that was very cool that they great splash page. I love the windows. Ooh-wee. I've done plenty of those, and it take a long time. Although it's kind of easy work to start the morning. Like, as soon as I get up in the morning, I have to ink something. I'm not going to start off with the face or the body, because if you screw that up, you're in trouble. But this is kind of real easy with a beveled straight edge. Angel Medina. This is the earliest stuff I know of him, and I've met him a few times, and he's a really, really nice guy. Really cool guy. And you know what? When I saw this, I was like, he's ready for the big leagues. I think what the only problem here is there's way too many panels and way too much. Too many word balloons, so it kind of cramps Angel's style. But I was looking at this, I'm like, wow, some strong stuff here. This is a panel I really love. Puts me in mind of like Keith Pollard, who's one of my favorite artists. Here's a dossier on the character, the bad guy. And I just dig it. And Angel's doing the majority of his own inks, and the rest is being done by Tom Zian or something. I like you say that name. Degree pose. Yeah, the inking's a little wonky, but I mean, like I said, I've seen a lot of Marvel and DC comics that were much messier. Those last two panels are really strong. The whole page is really strong. The stances. And, Angel's already figured everything out. And back up is Wild Man and Rubber Boy by Grass Green. He's an African-American fella who he did a lot of comics that were short stories that were humorous. And he was more like associated with the fanzines. But it's tremendous fun. It's like a cross between Kirby and, I don't know, either Kurtzman or someone else. But that's so much fun. So this guy throws this radioactive isotope or whatever it is. Yet another failure. It hits a snowman, and he's like, swats his head off. Rubber Boy does. I don't think Wild Man has any particular powers, but Rubber Boy's like Mr. Fantastic. He'll never survive the atom bomb double jack 2-foot slam. Yeah. Stomp his ice. Too late. So I love this stuff. okay, well, I'll let you finish it on your own. This is a really, really cool teaser for the next issue. Earthrian is not a name I care for. That's kind of standoffish, but I think it's done by Frank Fosco. And it's just brilliant. It's a great image. There's a song by Planet P, which had a hit in 1983 called Why Me? And it's about a guy getting on a rocket, and he says, now I'm riding on a fountain of fire. And as soon as I thought of that as soon as I saw this image. It's too bad this comic didn't stick around more. Really enjoyable stuff. Now, Kid Colt Outlaw versus not Doctor Doom, but Iron Mask. Kirby cover. I don't know who did the inks, but and Marvel is so great about doing that gray background. I would love to see more gray backgrounds on comic covers because it's just so cool. It makes the color images in the foreground pop. I just really love that. Okay, here comes Steve Skeets. As far as I know, his earliest credits. Since I learned how to focus again. Okay, and Roy Thomas. This is the earliest stuff because, just like in my case, I got to do a couple of books that were on the firing squad as far as getting canceled. And that's how a lot of these guys start off, with like a low-selling book that, not like if you make a grand mistake or whatever, they're not going to, if you're a new guy and untested, they're not going to give you like Batman or Spider-Man right away. However, this version of Iron Mask isn't nearly as interesting. It's Ogden Whitney? Let me see. Oh, Jack Keller. I am sorry. Wow, there's a big difference. But man, he does some great cowboys. He did like all the he went around from one Western comic to another, and he did, I think, some of the Atlas pre-comics. So this guy's the Fat Man and his boomerang. That's his deadly weapon. There's a hypnotist. Oh, this guy has a magnet. His power is using a magnet. It's so cheesy, but in a fun way. I got this real cheap too. I don't remember where I got it. So Iron Mask is hiding as a clown. That's so great. Oh. Now, here's the thing. These guys were pretty much forgotten about. There were a couple other Kid Colt super villain-esque type characters that pretty much fell down the memory well. Well, in West Coast Avengers, Steve Englehart and Al Milgrom brought these goofy Western guys back. It was like there was a story called the Lost in Space Time that was, I don't know, it was in the end of the second year of West Coast Avengers, and they brought these guys back because the West Coast Avengers got sent back to the cowboy days, like they had been when Steve wrote the book in the mid-70s, and it was very amusing. I hadn't seen them the first time, but I knew that they existed before, thanks to the footnotes and such. And now that I got this, it's just very satisfying. And the thing is, this is another classic retold by Mighty Marvel. Don Heck, man, I said this many a time. He is a master of so many genres. I love the folds on the arms there on the big splash. Well, don't worry about it. Stuff happens. And I totally dig it. Because I just keep saying that till I pass out. DC Challenge now. I really wanted to love this book, but I felt the opposite. Beautiful Jerry Ordway cover, though. And you ever notice when Darkseid came along? He was like the only really big, all-encompassing villain of the DC universe. Like, everybody had their rogues gallery, and but yet they keep going back to Darkseid, whatever. And it's like Kirby finally gave them a giant villain to unite from. Okay, here we go. I wrote myself notes. See, This is this was a monthly book for a year. What happened was the first issue would be done, leave a cliffhanger, and then a second team of creators, writer and artists, would do the second issue, leaving a cliffhanger to be solved by the next ones. And they were okay-ish. I mean, I don't know. They were a bit plodding, if I can be Well, here we go. Start off with Mark Evanier and Dan Spiegel, who did Crossfire, which is a great spinoff from DN Agents for what company? I think it was Eclipse Comics, yeah. And I'll tell you what, love Dan Spiegel. He's done, see, I wrote myself notes. He was more of a classic artist. He did comics, Annie Oakley, Dale Evans, some Walt Disney stuff, Rawhide, Maverick, Untouchables, based on the TV show, and Sea Hunt. So his stuff is very grounded in reality, and it's beautiful work, but space aliens are just not his thing, because I don't know if he's disinterested. I figure he's very much a pro about it, but if you were, it was only in the 90s that comics started to be boarded and bagged. They used to not be at all, and you'd be able to flip through them at the stands or at the comic shop. If I opened it and saw this first page, I'd put it back on the shelf, because it's so, first page is supposed to suck you in. It's supposed to really grab you, and it's just not exciting. And, Spiegel was just miscast in this situation. And again, it's just all this, why should I buy this? There's Superman. Like, maybe even start like that, and you can play backwards, or, with the story. Not to mention the aliens are really boring looking. They're just bald with orange skin, that's it. Now, we go to Phase 2, which is by Mark Evanier, Dennis Cowan, and Roden Rodriguez. What I find interesting is, even though the credits say it, it doesn't look like Dennis Cowan to me, unless he was trying some new style. And I love it. That first panel there with Orion and Light Ray landing, and with the inks, it's just so, I don't know, it almost looks like a European comic. And Batman by Dan Miskin, who is half of the creative team creator of Amethyst, Princess of Gemworld, which is a great book that needs reprinted. But I love Luke McDonald. And you get the typical crazy-ass Joker stuff. Now we're going into Roy Thomas, Stan Woke, and Jan Dracima. Stan was, he's one of the guys who did a lot of stuff for Eclipse. He was kind of like around, like you would see, I don't know, it's hard to explain. You'd see him, he actually did some Swamp Thing stuff during the Alan Moore run, which was really incredible. He's just a really versatile artist, and that's a great looking Barbarian. Now we got Jerry Conway / Gary Conway, whatever, Steve Lytle, who just passed recently, unfortunately, and Gary Martin on inks. He inked a lot of Steve Rude on Nexus, and that, because of the, it looks like a Jerry Ordway panel. That's what's so beautiful about it. It's so orderly in the inking, and it's tight. So there's all this going on, and I understand you're trying to close all these plot holes or cliffhangers, to be more accurate. Len Wein, Ross Andrew, and Frank McLaughlin. Really nice team. The coloring could have been a little more interesting. I mean, as far as, I like the pale colors, like the pastel. That's refreshing, but it's a little samey. But it's beautiful. I love Ross Andrew. And then you have the wrap-up with Mark Evanier with Marv Wolfman and Tom Mandrake. What's interesting in Marv Wolfman being involved, a year or so later, he would do Crisis on Infinite Earths. So this might have just warmed him up for doing Crisis. Wow, that is badass. And interesting enough, Tom, sorry, I got to go back. Tom Mandrake, he ended up doing, I think, a Spectre series later on. I could be totally wrong. Correct me below if I'm wrong. And there's a Jose Luis Garcia Lopez, a little swipe there, but you know, that's cool. I mean, this guy isn't doing like crazy swiping everywhere. I just left a real dry taste in my mouth. It was a drag. Okay, now we're going back to, once again, solo Avengers with Hawkeye, and it's a Bob Layton cover. I think it's, Bob Layton, babyface Bob Layton. I loved the split book. I'm surprised it lasted as long as it did. It lasted like 40 issues, but the last 5 issues were just based on one Avenger, and there was one based on Dr. Druid, who I consider to be the shittiest Avenger of all time, and you can't convince me otherwise. I mean, Deathcry was kind of dopey. I didn't really care for, and Century or Centurion, he was kind of crappy too, but nope. Dr. Druid wins by far. So you got the beginning by DeFalco, Mark Bright, who I love his stuff. He did start off with Power Man Iron Fist, and then he went to a couple other books. I think Green Lantern. He did Iron Man for a while during David Michelinie, Bob Layton's second Iron Man run in the late 80s, mid to late. So just fun stuff. And Hawkeye's just one of my favorite characters. Farewell with Arms. This is writer, breakdown art, Bob Layton, finished art, Jackson Geist / Butch Geist. I've always hated that costume Byrne came up with. Maybe it's more accurate, but not accurate, but maybe, I don't know. I don't like it. But starts off with a bomb that, how do I say his name? Dunus Nasius is sitting on, because he's depressed, he wants to die, and he wants the world to die with him. And he just says he feels sorry. He got his ego bruised when She-Hulk had taken him out so easily. And he goes, shortly thereafter, the resolve came to me. We are dying as a race, and better that we end not with a bang, not with a whimper, but a bang. And he's pleading with him. That's really nice. And those two did a lot of work together before they did X Factor. They did lots of stuff together. In fact, Butch / Jackson Geist did a year on Iron Man during the second era of Michelinie and Layton. So he just says, well, I'll stop thee by force, because I'm miserable. I'm going to make everybody else miserable. And this big old tank comes. So Dunanasis is just, he's just a bit despondent to the point of almost insanity. And this guy reminds me a lot of the character that was in, what is the issue? The issue where Iron Man had the silver and red Centurion armor, and then he got blown up supposedly, and then he got that new armor. It was right towards the end of the Michelinie Layton run, as I keep saying. Beautiful action here. Just tremendous fun. And he has an adamantium Garrot. Again, all this adamantium just floating around. So So it gets stopped. No. Here, I'm going to try that word again. Donanacius. I don't know. He says, say nothing, Hercules. Despondent though I be, I would not allow thee to perish on my behalf. Simply, I needed someone to know that someone cared. And one of the Butcher T and the Bomb, a little play on Booker T and the MGs, ends up in the middle of Fort Knox. That lying little fat boy. So Zeus has punishment. And he goes, well, thou shalt be banished to a place of I can't read today. Thou shalt be banished to a place of Pentius until such time as I deem thy service ended. Served. I want to start over again because I'm screwing up so bad. You'll be stripped of all powers. So be it. Hey, Father. He goes, well, what did you do, though? I sent him to a place where he may learn to be appreciated again. And it's Dion's bar, and now he's a bartender. Hey, Dion, how about another brewski? It'll be my pleasure. Great ending. Love it. They got to do a collection of all the Bob Layton Hercules. There's 2 miniseries. Actually, a third one came out in 2000. This story, 3 8-pagers from Marvel Comics Presents, the graphic novel that they did with Hercules, and there's some other stuff they did together. But there's enough for a nice epic collection. So now, time to go to the creme de la creme. Mr. Miracle by Mark Evanier and Steve Rude. And for those not in the know, Mark Evanier, he hung out with Kirby when he was just a teen, and he was sort of like unofficial assistant to Kirby. Like he would kind of get reference, or he and Steve Sherman would make suggestions or try to keep some of the continuity going. And for the most part, Mark Evanier says, we didn't really assist. He just liked us hanging around. And so Steve Rude, who did like almost the first 60 issues of Nexus with a few exceptions, he steps aside. I'm sure he was a fill-in artist during this era on Nexus to do this. Wow. And like anybody in comics who has a lick of sense, loves Kirby. How about that? Saw that ad, and I was like, oh my gosh, I can't wait to read that. And it was great. What happened to my voice just then? So it's just beautiful, beautiful artwork. And it makes you wish that he could have done a monthly book. There's yet another Spectre series by Doug Bench, Gene Colan, and Steve Mitchell. There was a lot of series of Spectre. But, Mark Evanier, he knows the fourth world inside and out, so he was the perfect writer for this. Got that Kirby going. Is he inking himself? I can't remember. I kind of flipped right past that. Mike Royer, inker of Kirby, all through the fourth world and beyond. That house, oh my gosh, that's nuts. In the best possible way. A wordless page, which is why I stayed wordless. How about that? That's such a Kirby kind of design. But it was made by Steve. So that's it. I'm not going to spoil it for you. And Darkseid's hiding. That's so great. Well, I hope you enjoyed this. This run through I've done of these series. I recommend them all. Well, Kid Colt, pre-monster, pre-gimmicky supervillain era, and the Megaton is hard to find. But Megaton just recently, Image published the entire Megaton series at Image, yeah, and it's great. It's all in black and white as the originals were, and it's a great deal. I mean, you get a lot of bang for your buck story wise. So that's it. Talk to y'all later.